Okay, welcome everybody to the January 27th, 2022 Woodlawn Community Improvement Corporation meeting. Thank you all for making the time to be here and get important updates and get some important work done. We'll start with a roll call. Ms. Shihad, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Louis Kutcher.
Present.
Michael Donahue.
Here.
Mary Hill.
Here.
Mayor Poole.
Present.
Kiana Tribune.
Oh my.
Here.
And Ms. Rosemary Brown. You're on mute, Ms. Brown. But I got you.
Here.
Excellent. So we do have an official quorum for any official business we need to conduct, such as approval of minutes. You should have all received the minutes from our last meeting, which was in 2021, April 21st. Should have come out in email a few days ago. Are there any corrections, additions, changes, comments on the minutes?
I have none.
I move to accept the minutes.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, so we have a motion to accept the minutes. It's been seconded. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, please say aye.
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 Opposed? And are there abstentions? Okay, the minutes are accepted as distributed, so. Thank you very much. Couple of welcomes. We have the village has a new full-time village manager since the last time we met, Mr. Anson Turley, and I've asked him to briefly introduce himself. At some point down the road, we'd like to have discussions more about direction of the village and visions and those kinds of things. But for today, just, say hello, your background, I don't know, your favorite comfort food. I don't care, something about yourself.
So that would be my wife's macaroni and cheese. That's what that would be. Like to thank you for the introduction. As mentioned, last December, Mayor Poole swore me in as the new village manager. So I was gratefully humbled for that role. It's been an adventure so far, and it just gets better each day. So I appreciate that. I've spent my life in public service. So when I was 19, I became a Cincinnati firefighter, and I rose through the ranks. For the first 25 years of my career as a firefighter, I was in the field, putting out fires, making medical runs. About 2011, I decided I wanted to learn the administration part of the fire department. So I transferred and became the city's first emergency manager. I then went back to school to study organizational leadership and got my bachelor's in 2019, I believe, all the while promoting up through the ranks. So I was a district chief of emergency management, then I became an assistant chief of emergency management. And I finally ended my career 2 months ago as the administrative services assistant chief, where I did budgeting, procurement, human resources. Pretty much, I learned a lot of the skills there that I'm bringing to bear today as the village manager. As I mentioned a couple of months ago, got sworn in, been working with a wonderful group of people and very positive about the direction that the village is heading and the future. And I'm just happy to be a part of that. So I thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Excellent. Thank you. And welcome again. We're happy to have you on board. So the other introductions are for our new CIC members. We should have 2 more coming on from council. Currently from council, we have Ms. Tribune and Mayor Poole. Mayor Poole, would you introduce your nominees for being on the CIC? People you're appointing, your appointees?
So Currently, again, as you pointed out, Trey, we have myself and Vice Mayor Kiana Trabue. Rosemary Brownlee is going to be joining us as well as newly elected official, Miss Cindy Chandler. Cindy did have an emergency, had to leave town last night. So she may come in on the meeting, but she may not. But she did have an emergency, and she shared that with me on last night upon her leaving town. So she is going to serve with us, and very excited to be part of the group.
Excellent. I will add their names to email distribution list for things
Okay.
and questions that come up, and
Okay.
reviewing minutes and things like that. So I'll add that.
Gotcha.
Rosemary, do you want to say anything about yourself, your background, your history? You've been around. We know you.
Yeah, I've been around for a while, so I think everybody pretty much knows me. I've been here on council for going into the 12th year. So I've been around.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Okay. Moving on to reports. Chair's report from me. Not a lot to report since the last meeting. COVID and the Omicron variant have put a damper on a lot of things. So we've kind of been in a holding pattern. But I understand there's been some work on grant funding for parks that we're excited to learn more about. But that's about it from me for now. Budget update, Ms. Hill.
Well, there isn't much to give on the budget update. We still have $64,629.68 in our budget, in the bank, that is. And that's about it.
And the vast majority of that money is money that was raised for Harmony Park. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Ms. Hill, is there a difference in $3,000? I have on my lap.
$3,000?
I thought it was
$3,000.
I
Not
thought it was
$3,000.
Can I
No,
finish?
the only thing that I paid out of there was $29 to file the tax to, I'm not sure what the tax service is, but I can get the name of the tax service where.
No
filed
problem. I thought it was
the
67.
940. Huh?
I thought it was 67,000.
Yeah, I
And
had that. I had that number too, Mayor. I think that was from a conversation that Mr. Kutcher and I had. He was estimating, but no, it'll be fine.
Well, I mean, it would be 65 as opposed to 67 if you're going to estimate it.
Well, I recall on another meeting, if I can recall, and Tim help me understand, Lou as
Okay.
well, that I thought that there was a balance of 67,000 in that budget for such.
Okay. When, what date was it? I've got all of the bank statements here.
I don't have a date on my notes that I have written. I don't have a
I've
date.
got all the bank statements that
So-
have ever come in, so
Okay,
I will bring them over and let Tim see the bank statements. I don't have a problem with that.
oh, no problem. Okay,
Mhm.
I just thought it
Yeah.
was 67.
Yeah, we'll just look into that and figure out what the history has been. And if we need to, we can do an updated report at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay,
Mayor, the last report that I'm looking at from last April was $64,712.67. Last April.
April of 21.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well.
And I very well may have said at some point, about $67,000 without having an actual number.
That's
Uh,
okay.
No
Ballparking.
problem.
And they said I've got each and every statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. So we continue both the CIC and the village to work on planning for parks. And so the most of the meeting today, I think, will be Mr. Engel updating us on Parks Master Plan and Harmony Park. And so take it away.
All righty. Just try to give kind of a brief summary of what's happened so far. So kind of in the middle of 2021, the village kind of revisited the Harmony Park project. At that time, the village manager contracted with CT consultants to develop a park master plan for the village of Woodlawn. CT drew up some concepts. In August, the village manager left. It was kind of left to me at that point. I contacted CT and we kind of merged the concepts together into a large park master plan that kind of took all the concepts and put them together. I'm going to try to share my screen here. If I'm really lucky, this will work for me. And here we go. So this is the park master plan that CT consultants drew up for us. And so as you can see on the master plan, there are sidewalk connections to Riddle Road. There's a proposed bathroom facility. There's a 10-space parking lot up here. The Harmony Park instruments are placed around this yellow area. There are some crosswalk improvements, so you can walk across the street between Woodlawn Boulevard and Municipal Building. And then as we move further down, there's another large parking space down here, which is kind of where kind of the current playground is on the other side of Woodlawn Boulevard. A couple of jungle gyms over here by the existing gazebo. And then as we move down towards the caboose area, the goal was to move the caboose down the hill and repurpose it into an amphitheater. There's a mixing station up here. And then the park itself was supposed to connect to the existing trails. There's the Mill Creek Trail, and then there's the obviously the nature trail up here. So they drew up a very nice plan for us. When they sent it to me, I said, gosh, guys, that looks really great. What does that cost? And they said, well, that costs about $1.3 million. And I said, well, I think I'm a little short.
Yeah.
So initially, let me see if I can share my screen on another item here. So we went ahead and broke the plan up initially into two phases. Can you guys see? Oops, this was at the bottom, I'm sorry. Can you guys see the phase one plan here? I'm just gonna make sure that you can see what I'm seeing.
Not yet.
This
No,
looks
We
like
still see this.
didn't
the
change.
same
Same
thing
one.
you were sharing.
Okay, let's see here. This isn't the part of Zoom that I'm good at, so I apologize. But we broke the plan up into two phases. And phase one, as soon as I can get it up. Oh, there we go. New share screen. I found it. There we are. So phase one, no, I still have this one.
Tim, try try stop sharing your screen and then share it again and see if you can choose that as an option.
Okay. Here we are. There we are. Should be able to see it now. Phase,
It's at
it's still the
bottom.
same.
Yeah, there you go.
There's phase one.
Yeah, bring it up a little bit more, Tim, can you?
Yeah. Yep, I sure can. I've got to move stuff around on my screen now.
There we go. There you go.
Modern technology.
All
I
right.
apologize. So we broke it up into two phases originally. So phase one, again, we'll bring in the sidewalk up through Riddle Road, the bathroom, the 10 space parking lot, a gazebo, as well as the placement of the instruments, and then connect it to the Mill Creek and nature trails. The cost of phase one, the estimated cost came to about $730,000, make it 731 in round numbers. The state of Ohio has a capital budget bill that they pass every 2 years. And I filled out the appropriate paperwork to try to get phase one added to the capital budget bill. In December, Mr. Turley and I met with the capital budget committee to see about getting phase one on the bill. We made our speeches, and we will know whether that came through, that funding will come through about July, I believe. Every so often we get an email just saying, hey, we're presenting stuff and we're talking, but I believe we'll know in July as to whether that came through for us. Just kind of to move forward a little bit, phase two, obviously, is kind of the amphitheater side of the park. This would be done sometime in the future, but again, we'd be moving the caboose down the hill, putting in the mixing station, the 28 space parking lot, as well as the jungle gyms. So once this is complete, it'll be a very nice park complex for our community, a great place to meet for the concert series, as well for the kids to play. In the meantime, until we know whether or not we can we get funding for everything, we kind of have a mini phase put together. And so this will kind of complete the primary objectives, I believe, of what the park was supposed to do initially. And so this kind of mini phase will go ahead and put in a small sidewalk area for the park, an apron right here, so you can kind of cross the street from Woodlawn Boulevard to the park itself. And it places the instruments and does a little bit of landscaping. This particular phase costs just under $50,000. Their estimate is $49,730. The village of Woodlawn has $18,563 in a fund that's an old We Thrive grant fund. I called the folks from We Thrive when I saw the fund, and I said, guys, I see this on our ledger. I'm not sure how old it is. I don't know what it's for. What do I do with it? And they said, well, the documentation we have says it's to build a park, and everything we have says you've completed that grant. So if you have money left over, put it towards a park. So it seems like a good project. So the village can contribute the 18,563. The CIC, if they can make up if they agree, can make up the difference for the remainder of the 49 to go ahead and complete the mini phase. And that should leave the CIC with roughly $34,000 in their treasury, as I know they still have some commitments to put in bricks and benches and things of that nature for the donors. And we're happy to facilitate that if you guys need us to reach out to Bushelman or something, but I think maybe you guys may have done some of that stuff preliminarily anyway. Mm-hmm. But we can start on that, as early as the spring, I believe. CT's on board and kind of waiting for us to tell them what to do. But that's kind of where we sit with the park. Again, still hoping we get the funding from the capital budget bill. They may give us all of it. They may give us a portion of it. No matter what we get, we'll work with CT to continue on with the park plan. And then as we continue to move through the years, we'll continue to add on to that plan. The nice thing with the stuff that CT has done for us is that they've broken it up in a way that we don't have to move something or tear something out to add on to the existing phases, which is really important because then you're wasting time and money. But that's kind of where we're at with it. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them for you.
I'm just extremely happy. I'm just really, really happy. to see that something's going to materialize after all these years.
Agreed.
Hey, Tim,
Kiana?
can you just, yes, can you
Oh.
repeat one more time, the totals that you were saying, the total cost for that kind of phase one? I heard you, I know that I heard earlier that, CIC has about 64,000, and then there
Yes.
was the 18 from the We Thrive grant.
Yep.
And then was there something else that you said as well?
I sure can repeat those. So the cost of what we'll call the mini phase is $49,730. The village has $18,563 in the We Thrive grant fund, which can be utilized towards that project. That would leave the CIC to pick up the remaining balance. And after they do that, that'll leave them with roughly $34,000 for any other commitments they have, such as the bricks for the donors and the benches or anything else that they've promised out there. I know Mr. Kutcher and I had talked about it before. I presented everything to the budget committee, and I said, am I okay if I use about half of what you have? And in that moment, I think he felt like that was okay. So we've used about a little less than half, I think, of what they have in their treasury, and we'll satisfied it.
Yeah, most of what we have has been raised for the park. So, the intention is it's
All of it except for, I think it was 15,000. How much did we get for the sale down of the, we got that from the village, our 10%.
Yeah,
Our 10%. So other than that, we have gone out and knocked on doors and sent out requests to the people here in this village and asked them to contribute to the park.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're pretty good in that regard. Budget wise, we have had the money for quite a while. So can you two things? One, can you send around to the CIC or to me the documents that you just showed, the pictures and sort of the budget breakdown, just so we can see them, so we have a record.
Absolutely.
That would be nice.
You will have those in your inboxes either later tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Excellent.
So Tim, can I ask the question? If we know that we took half of the 64, we add back into the 18, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. So that roughly gives us that 49 round numbers, as you call it, 50,000
correct.
To do that phase. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
All right. So with that, is there any type of, are we ready for some type of an agreement with, or is the next step, who's going to do the installation? Is that the problem, or not the problem? Is that kind of where we are now? CT has kind of outlined it, kind of gave us where we can put it. We kind of know our numbers. You're talking about spring, which is great. But what is the next step in that? Have a installer or anyone been looked at, selected?
So I think CT has some vendors that they can use to help us with that. But now that we know that the CIC is on board, we can circle back with CT, let them know that we kind of have our ducks in a row and everybody's okay, and kind of move from there. And I think now that we know that CIC is comfortable and that the village is comfortable with this, we can move that along pretty quickly.
Okay.
And kind of get everything bid out. The nice thing is, if they're pretty close on their estimate, which I assume they are, the 49,000, it's low enough that we don't even really have to bid anything out. Bid is 50 or over. Correct. So we're right where we need to be, moving along pretty fast.
Okay.
Good.
So
nice.
I do have Trey. I have a couple questions, and I'm hoping that this group can probably address some. Couple of my concerns is logistically. So we get this, we get these instruments put in place, and I just want to have a walkthrough in my mind. What does this look like at the end of the night for a security purpose? We certainly can't leave these instruments out in this type of weather.
Good question.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
I'm sorry.
They are. They're for outside.
I've never known a xylophone to be an outside instrument, but that's okay.
Have-
No worries.
Have you been down to Washington Park?
I have.
You see the instruments they have down there?
I do.
Okay, our instruments are like those.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I think there are two issues you bring up. Security is definitely one we ought to talk about in terms of suitability for outside installations. Mary's correct. They are designed for that. But what about security? You were mentioning security.
So I'm concerned that certainly we don't want anybody coming through there doing any type of vandalism. I don't know if I know that, security we have put that on our top priority in terms of the village, in terms of making sure that security is in all of our buildings. However, that's across the street. And so I'm not for sure if the range will pick that up. I'm just trying to get in my head logistically, how does this look? We know that typically a park closes at dark. So how do we handle things like that? I'm just concerned of the upkeep of these instruments, because at the end of the day, we're not going to be coming back to CIC and say that the xylophone was destroyed. I'm hoping that does not happen, but I just want to be out there looking at all possibilities. So what happens in that case? Who's responsible for replacing that piece of instrument? Because certainly it's not going to be something that we will just stick in our budget, thinking that something is going to happen. So I'm just trying to understand the logistics of all of this, so that we're all on the same page.
Yeah. So couple of things. At one point, we'd originally talked about wherever the instruments go, getting a camera on them that can feed to the police department. So I think that's something we ought to look into as they develop the final plans, is getting a camera and appropriate lighting. That corner I know has got one or two street lights, so that may be enough for evening lighting for security purposes there. It's certainly a visible corner, so I think that will help with that kind of vandalism security. In terms of dealing with it, if there are issues, how does the park deal with it now? If someone were to spray paint the side of the building at the pool, or choose to damage a bench somewhere, I don't know how does the village handle those kinds of things now?
I get what you're saying. How we would handle it is we would assess it, and if it needs to be replaced or repaired. But I'm saying this because these funds, this park, these instruments were purchased with donor money. That's my concern. Yeah. So if a piece of equipment or a piece of instrument, and these are just play numbers, if the instrument was $5,000, something happened to that piece of instrument, at what point, or who's responsible? Because again, these are funds these instruments were bought with the funds from CIC.
Right. Can I jump in real quick, Mayor?
Yes.
In terms of damage to the instruments and things of that nature, the instruments themselves should be able to be insured through PEP, which is our insurance provider. We can circle over to them and say, this is what we're planning on doing. We just need to extend our policy to this park equipment, and kind of see what they come back with. In terms of the security, similar to what Mr. Kutcher has said, when we signed the contracts with ADT for building security, one of the items we had talked about was a camera in front of the police department to monitor the park equipment. So again, now that we know that everybody's kind of on board and everybody's okay, we'll circle back with ADT and say, this is going to be a thing. And we need to have a camera that can see that equipment to make sure nothing happens to it.
Okay. All right, you answered the question. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Thanks, Louis.
Yep, thank you very much.
I have a question.
Yeah.
My question is, in phase one, does that include the placement of the bricks and the benches, or is that something that we're going to do in a later phase once we've gotten the whole project done or halfway done? Do we know where the bricks and the benches are going to be placed?
So
In what phase would they
I
be
don't-
placed?
Sure. The bricks and benches should be placed as part of phase one because that's a commitment that was made to donors. I don't know that I have an updated list, so I don't know how many bricks or how many benches need to be in there.
I can
But
get
once
that
we,
for you.
that'd be perfect. Once we have that, I can float that back over to CT and say, this is what we need. We need to make sure that these are placed in such a way that they won't be disrupted when we add on to it. And they should be able to handle that part. That placement's not going to be a significant amount of money. I mean, once we buy them, it's just putting them in the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
The other expense we're going to have is a sign recognizing the donors, or a sign on each instrument, or, we need to think about how we want to do signage on that.
Sure. Yep.
So, yeah. But that'll be part of the design phase, I'm sure. So, and I can work on the things that we need to, the people we need to recognize. So, and I will throw out here now that we still have a couple of instruments that have not been claimed. They haven't been sponsored yet. So we still have time if somebody wants to put money
Get
in.
more money. Yes.
Yeah, and we can certainly enhance what we have available for building parks.
Well, and
Regard.
Don't we have 8 instruments so far, or what do we have? 6 or 8?
Instruments. We have 8 instruments.
8? Oh,
We have
okay.
8 instruments.
8. Okay.
Okay.
well, and the nice thing is once they're up, sometimes somebody wants to sponsor it after the fact. They see they have an opportunity, and
Yeah.
especially if it's a business, they like to do that kind of thing. So I
Yep.
think there's still a lot of opportunity for that, to your point.
So you
Ms.
have
Hill, is there
six-
a,
you have 6 that have been sponsored and 2 that have not, or Yeah.
I think we have half and half. Duke gave us a grant, and it was not tied to sponsoring an instrument, but I think we should recognize them with naming an instrument, with giving them an instrument or 2 of sponsorship there.
Or,
Instruments.
as we talked about, even putting a plaque up there for
Plaque.
those donors.
Yeah.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
kind of a plaque.
Miss Hill, is there a price in terms of those 2 instruments that are left? Is there a price in terms of what we're trying to get in terms of a donation on that, a donor, or it doesn't
Yeah,
matter?
there's a list, and it said to sponsor this instrument.
Okay.
We're asking for, let's say, $5,000.
I got
To
you.
sponsor
Okay.
this one, we're asking this much.
Yeah.
However, let me add that I think we had 2, the law firm and another firm also wanted the xylophones, but we only have 1 xylophone. So I think that other person, so I think we really only have 1.
Okay.
That's out there.
Okay.
I'll look.
Is
I
that
will look. I know
5,000?
I do have those
I've got the
records.
list. I can
Yeah.
go through the
Yeah,
list.
we both have those records.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
But yeah, the instruments were at 5,000 for most of them, and there were 2 larger instruments, and the sponsorship was 7,500 on those.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Got a
All right.
quick question.
Are you interested,
Shirley?
Mayor?
Sorry.
Are you interested in sponsoring one? We'll be happy to put
At
your
the, at,
name on
at the
one.
price of $5,000, I got a
Yes.
college student.
I was
Does
going
that
to
answer
say,
your
it's
question?
coming, the Brian Poole
I
College.
have a college student. I'm gonna leave it there.
This is in
Mr.
line with the,
Turley.
Thank you. This is in line with what the mayor was saying about damage. I'd like to take that further into maintenance. So I understand that the instruments are designed to be outdoors, but is there any regular maintenance that needs to happen? Is there like a specified lifespan on the instruments, or what do we need to do to care for them to make sure that they last as long as possible?
Yeah. I believe, you ask the company and they say, oh, they'll last forever. But realistically, I believe what they say the lifespan is about 20 to 25 years. So, for forever, a generation, they'll last for as long as any piece of park equipment that's kept outside will last. They also say that there's no major maintenance. The metal is all, I think it's epoxy or powder coated or something. So it's not like you don't have to do painting or those kinds of things, weeding, cleaning, that kind of stuff. But, the fittings are all stainless steel, so there shouldn't be any rust issues or anything like that. Keep an eye on it, make sure there are no problems down the road.
The only thing that I saw that could be maybe a problem is with the xylophones, the actual, what do you call those things you hit?
Mallets.
Yes,
Mallets.
those, yes. I could see where maybe someone might take those off or they might get disconnected or something. But other than that, that was my only concern with the maintenance of the, and the upkeep, that if someone would just vandalize that and tear it off or something. But it's on with a big a metal hook, so.
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay.
Could you all
We're
maybe
doing that.
ask Play World where you got the instruments from, what the maintenance or any coverings, or
Yeah.
maybe just for the protection of the instruments during the winter time?
No, and
We
that's a very
could
good
ask the
point.
people who provided the instruments.
Yeah, and I was thinking also,
But I noticed Cincinnati didn't put anything on there. I mean, there's nothing on the ones in Cincinnati. They're just there. But they have much more money than we do.
I think when we're working with the engineering consultant too, we'll make sure that not only are the instruments weatherproof, but the mounting hardware used to keep them, fix them into whatever mounting apparatus they're on. Because if that's not weatherproof, then that'll rust and we'd have to maintain that.
And they should check with Playworld, because I know that there are some very specific instructions for the proper installation of these instruments, in terms of if they're set into concrete or not set into concrete, so on and so forth. And
Play
if
World does do installation.
that was the same thing
They
I was
do.
going to say. If the general contractor for the park wants to sub it out to Playworld, I would be very comfortable with that because they have a lot of experience. They will do it properly.
Sounds good.
Other questions?
So as we kind of sat here, we talked about our comfort zone. We're kind of feeling really good about the whole project. Let's talk about a target date for install. Is that fair to say? Is it too early to say?
I have a question regarding
I have a
how much of this is dependent upon the decision of the capital, the state with the capital money. Because if we get the money, we can do a complete phase one, or do we start with the initial phase one, and then if we get it, we can just build on to that initial, or,
I
Yes.
think
So the way that CT designed it was that we could do the mini phase and then build onto it as we got the money. So we can actually start on that first phase, which is the placement of the instruments and the sidewalk and the pad. And then if we find out in July that the capital budget committee gave us some money, we can circle back to CT and say, this is how much we got. What can we, what do we get for this much? And move it forward. And it shouldn't disrupt anything we've already done.
we have the money and we need to get the project done. So,
So then,
I'd say let's
to me,
not
Mr. Mayor, that's me and Tim meeting with CT and getting a timeline for them and saying, hey, we've got the money, we're ready to go. give us a timeline. When can we start?
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. That'd be great.
Get whatever
I know.
final drawings we need. Yeah. Rosemary, did you have?
I do. I was just sitting back here, sitting thinking, and I understand and I hear you saying that these instruments are weatherproof and everything. You want to check on the fittings and so forth and so on. If it is found out that there are covers for these instruments, for them to be covered up, say like when, it really gets cold, snowing, so forth and so on. What does that look like? Would that be we or us would have to make a determination as to whether or not we would want to go into the expense of buying those covers, or looking at maybe partnering with you guys to buy these covers, or you guys partnering with us, or just what? So that these instruments can last as long as they possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And certainly I will go ahead. I can do that, reach out to Play World about covers and protection. What do we need to do to get the most life out of them? Covers have never been mentioned, but I'll certainly ask the question. And if it's appropriate, then we can figure out, how much is it going to be and where does it fit into the budget?
Yeah. Coach, if you remember when we took when you and Donahue and myself, we took the little tour over there in Great Parks when that kind of came up. And if I'm not mistaken, and Donahue might want to chime in, they did mention something about covering and that these instruments would be covered on a nightly basis upon the closing of the park. Yeah. So it sounds like there's a possibility that there is some type of covering for them, because that has been a concern of mine, especially in this hard winter, this hard winter. Yeah.
Well, we should definitely look into that. And we'll cross that one when we come to it. But let's start planning ahead to see if that's something we need to plan in.
I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
This is Councilman Lawson. I got a quick question. My question is, will there be time for the park, like as far as time when people can come in and like participate on playing on the instruments or something? Or
when
will
the
it like close at dark, and what time will it open? Like time of operations.
Yeah. I think those are issues that, yes, definitely. Have signage there on that. I think those are issues that the Parks Department and whatever the current policies of the village for other recreation facilities, whatever those policies are, we should certainly follow.
Okay.
There's not really going to be a way to keep people out, if somebody's coming by and it's, after sunset and they want to play a riff, there aren't any houses around there that they're going to be disturbing people. I don't. But
but we want to be consistent though. To your point, Mr. Lawson, he's right. We want to be consistent in that, because we don't allow people to, or the police department doesn't allow people to hang out in the gazebo, the shelter area at any time of the night. So we simply, the rule is that at dark or whatever we decide to post, we should stick to that.
Yep.
We should stick to that.
I don't really see the village making any exceptions for this part, except for helping to put it in, because the rules, the regulations around our parks and playgrounds and what have you would be appropriate for that park also.
Correct.
Okay, maybe like some signage or something.
Certainly.
Will work out good. Okay.
Certainly. Okay, good stuff.
Don't believe we need to take a vote yet because we don't have a contract to approve, but it sounds like that's probably the next step is to move forward with CT Consulting and figure out who's going to put in the, it's not going out for bid, but who's going to put in the proposal. Then we would approve.
Yeah, I believe that would be the thing. We'll circle back with CT and kind of let them know where we're at, and they can draw everything up, and we'll get that over to Emily and let her review it.
Yes.
And then we can reschedule and get everything approved.
Excellent. Good. This is
Thank you.
exciting. This is very exciting.
It is exciting, very
much.
exciting.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
All right.
Yeah, Donnie, just want to say it is. I think the mini phase has definite merit, and I really want to reach out and thank Mr. Engel and Mr. Turley. Good work. Count on whatever help that we can be to help you. It's appreciated.
Yep.
Well, thanks to all of you as well. We appreciate the time and effort it took to acquire the donations and put the plan together. And I know I was happy to be a part of it. I think Anson feels the same way. And it's been exciting, and I think it's just one more exciting thing that's going to happen in the village. We're looking for more of them to happen as the years go.
It's a team sport.
Well, Tim and Mr. Turley, we will be glad to put a brick in with your name on it. And when I bring over the statements, then I'll collect your money, Tim.
I was waiting for that.
Right, exactly.
I see what you did there, Mary.
Very good. Very good. We'll bring it over.
All right. All right. Is there any new business we need to add in?
I've got something to talk about. Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay.
Tim just said about the exciting. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay. Things that are exciting. I've always been interested in the Greenway, and have tried to keep a lot of us up to date on the things that are going on around the county with the Greenway. And I want to underscore that there's an opportunity coming up for the Safe Route to School application process. We've had a significant amount of success working with the Ohio Department of Transportation, which is the source of those monies. We've also been successful with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources on Greenway building, those kind of things. So we've had the experience in the past of working with these people, and I think we're well positioned to get some help. My thoughts were that they have to be within, I think it's like a mile of the school, and both the intersections on Springfield Pike at Riddle and at Grove would fit the bill. They could get a good deal enhanced from a safety perspective. I know in the course of sending things around to different people, I've been contacted Alex Gonzalez, who is our We Thrive staff person, is very interested and has experience. The We Thrive people have been very good as far as the Safe Routes to School, and helping us again and putting her time, whatever that might be, into working on an application process. I also heard from Paula Sherman from the Recreation Department that she has an interest. In order to pull this off, it'll be imperative that we meet a deadline. We being the village of Woodlawn is the only one that can apply, of March 4th. So that gives us about 5 weeks. If people want to have a little more exciting, if people want to do some planning, I know Great Parks is going to be updating their bus stop and access to Glenwood Gardens. I think it'd be really neat if we had a number of projects that were rolling forward in the not too distant future. So I just leave with that ask. I would ask that the CIC approve a motion to ask that the village of Woodlawn apply for the SRTS grant by the due date of March 4th.
Mr. Trace, Brother Chair.
Yeah.
I don't feel, and Mr. Donahue, thank you for all of that, but I don't feel that a motion needs to come from CIC, given the direction of the village. The manager is already on that. He is already in that. So he's understanding the deadline. We've talked about that. So again, that's an initiative from the village standpoint. And I think that we need to allow the village manager to take care of that.
Yeah, Tim and I
But
actually
he's on
met
it.
with, yeah, as according, Mayor Poole's right. Tim and I earlier, we met with CT Consultants. And the two things that we mentioned were improving the roadways and then also the safe routes to school. Because part of the application process is you have to have an engineering firm on board. And so we are definitely on it. And our plan is to meet that deadline.
Yeah.
And the good thing is the way that it's written, the entire village would qualify for sidewalks, because the
Correct.
entire village is actually within the area which meets that criteria. So
Yes.
we want to take full advantage of that. And I appreciate you bringing that up here today, Mr. Donahue.
Well, that's great news, and I really appreciate hearing you guys are getting focused on it. Please share that information. That, like I said, the We Thrive people are willing to help. I'm sure get something that'll endorse the whole concept from them. We're ready to do it. If I can help you folks at all in that, please count on it. I'd be more than willing to do that. So say but the word, and I'll do whatever I can to assist you.
Yeah, anything CIC can do as a body, if there's anything we can help out with as well.
We appreciate that. I'll make sure that I send the information about Harmony to the CIC members. I don't know if I have good contact information for Mr. Donahue, but when I send that out, I'll CC Mr. Turley on it as well. And if everybody could just reply back to us with some good contact information, we'll see that we keep you in the loop and let you know what's going on.
Will do, Tim. Thanks.
I have that information for you, Tim.
Good. Is there anything
you, Monica.
else? Any other? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
And I'll second it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And those in favor of adjourning
Aye.
and leave.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you
Thank
again.
you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
That was
Bye-bye.
exciting news. Well worth this meeting.
Yes.